Welcome to Lady Dynamite Creates. Today we are going to be making a Dia de los Muertos Catrina doll. When I decided to make this doll, I was browsing Pinterest for makeup ideas and came across this very talented Instagram artist, LilyLove213. She is formerly a creative director for Mattel and even worked on the Monster High line. She has so many amazing Catrina makeups and it was so hard to choose my favorite, but ultimately I was drawn to this particular dress she created because of the Sacred Heart. However, I did want a more colorful makeup for the look, and I saw these beautiful illustrations by Instagram artist Mary Di Mary and fell in love with the color schemes. So let's get started. To prep the doll, I heat the head with my hairdryer until the plastic is soft and I pop it off. I cut away the hair until it's relatively short, then I buzz it down as short as possible. Next, I take a flathead screwdriver and I scrape the inside of the head and pull out all of the bits of glue and hair with some needle nose pliers. Now if you notice, this doll has some pretty big holes in her part line and other places. If you take and boil the head for 3 minutes, they shrink. Now I take 100% acetone, cotton pads, and Q-tips and remove all of the original paint. Since the doll I'm using has fins and webbed hands, I carefully remove them with an X-Acto blade. I mix up paint to match her skin, and I paint the hands and arms to cover the spots I just cut away. While I'm at it, I mix up paint for the scalp and paint that too. Today I will be rerouting with nylon hair from the Doll Planet. To get started, I pull a section from my large hank and I start pulling out small pluck-size pieces and lay as many as I can fit out onto my workstation. I personally find it easier to work with the hair dry. Now I take one of my plug sections and I wrap it around my finger and pick it up with a rerouting tool. I slide my nail down the needle to gather escaped hair and I pull both ends of the hair to tighten the loop. Then I stab it into the head. Once I have filled in the hairline, I move on to the part. I reroute one side of the part line and pull the hair in one direction. For the other side, I reroute into the same holes, but I fold the hair onto the opposite side. For the hairstyle I'm planning, I didn't want it to be overly full, so I decided to make some wefts out of nylon. I take my hank and I cut it in half, I lay it out on some plastic and arrange the hair. I then apply a light layer of glue to the cut top. Make sure to keep your line relatively straight for cleaner looking wefts. After the glue is dried, I peel it off the plastic. It is definitely more difficult working with nylon wefts than it is with the yarn. After you separate the wefts from the plastic, trim down the glued tops. To use the wefts, I apply a thin bead of liquid fusion glue. I press the weft firmly down over the glue and I pin it in place since this nylon wants to slide, and I let it dry. For this face up, I used so many different pencils. Here are the ones I used for the orange, yellow, and turquoise details. The rest were used for the eyes. I used Caran d'Ache, Derwent, Faber-Castell, and General's Charcoal White. Mr. Super Clear is my preferred sealant. I also used a few pan pastels. The most important tools I used this time around was the blender and the pencil sharpener. This sharpener gets a great tip on the pencils. Let's get started on this face up. I've wrapped her hair up already and applied a couple layers of Mr. Super Clear. I started by sketching in her top eyeliner, working on both eyes at the same time. I clean up any areas I don't like with a wet fine tip brush. The water helps lift off the pencil and refine the area. For tougher areas, I gently rub with a wet toothpick. Next, I fill in the whites and add her tear duct. After I'm happy with the eyes, I very lightly sketch in the Calavera design and apply another layer of MSC. I will skip showing this step because it was so light it was hard to see what I was doing. Using a pink watercolor pencil, I sketch in the waterline and the tear duct. I make them darker in the corners and lighter in the middle. Using short light strokes, I darken her eyeliner. I then start the long task of outlining all of the details and apply another layer of MSC to save my progress. This also allows my pencils to build up color again. Now I add eyelid creases and darken the outer edge of the waterline. Next, I work on filling in all of the colors, working in gradients and blending them out. This is where the blending pencil comes in handy. I do many passes to build up the colors. To sketch out the eyes, I draw an iris shape on both eyes, making sure they're symmetrical. I use a wet liner brush to help shape the iris. I then fill it in with pale blue and gray. I lay in a half moon shape of white that has been lifted directly off the pencil with a wet brush. I then take a bit of pastel and fill in the eye socket. I then darken it further with pencils. I try to keep the eyelid lighter and the corners and creases darker. I carefully dab red pastel onto her lips, keeping it darker on the top lip and in the corners. I build up many layers of colors on the iris and blend until I get the desired effect. To add the pupils, I take a dark gray and I make a dot for each iris. Once I'm happy with the placement, I make them bigger a little bit at a time until I reach the desired shape and size. Using a white pencil, I highlight her eyelid. To detail the irises, I make tiny flicks in the dark gray pencil around the outer edge, pushing inward. Then I repeat this going outward from the pupil. And I apply pastel to the top of the eye to add shadow. For lashes, I take a very sharp pencil and gently flick in an outward, slightly curving motion. I do this for both top and bottom. Using gouache paint, I finish off the eyes with some eye shines and a few small highlights. I prefer to use gouache over acrylic for this because it's water activated, and if you mess up, you can wet it to remove it and try again. I use my quadruple zero liner brush along the waterline and tear ducts, and a nail art dotting tool for the shines. I start off by working on the most eye-catching element in this outfit, the sacred heart. I drew my heart onto some parchment paper and placed a layer of tulle over it. Next, I layer glue around the edge of the heart and lay in some fringe. Later, you will pull this off the tulle to glue it onto the back of the finished top design. While that is drying, I cut my heart from a piece of twill iron-on patch. I then connect it to a piece that I cut from the top of a cross patch. I use parchment to keep it from sticking to my flat iron. Then I attach the ribbon trim all around this. Next, I string layers of gold beads all around the outer edge. I poke my needle through the front and gather 3 gold seed beads and an arrow bead, and a final seed bead, but only go back through the arrow and the 3 base beads. The final bead acts as a stopper. I then push my needle through from the back to the front to keep the beads laying down flat. To cover my stitching lines, I apply gems all around the heart. Now to sew the shirt. I'm using an altered dress pattern from Delightful. I cut the base from this very stretchy mesh and then cut pieces from a solid stretch fabric from the chest down. I apply hem tape to the back edges of the solid fabric and adhere it to the top of the mesh with my flat iron. I apply some lace to the cuffs in the same manner. Then I pin the shirt right sides facing and sew up the side seams and along the sleeve. After the shirt is complete, I put it on my mannequin and put a generous amount of fabric glue onto the back of the completed heart. I used rubber bands to secure it into place. For the skirt, I made a simple circle skirt pattern and cut it from mesh fabric with a rotary cutter. Notice my fabric is folded over 2 times. I will have a link below where you can download this pattern for free. Once the skirt is cut, I fold a length of lace ribbon over the top edge to create a waistband, and I sew this into place. I also sew up the back and add a fastener. Off camera, I made her leggings. They required some creative thinking and trial and error, so I didn't record it. Now onto my favorite part of this doll, her shoes. I have been working for months trying to perfect a 3D printed shoe, and today you get a sneak peek at what will hopefully be up for sale in my store soon. I start with some minor sanding to clean up where the supports were and spray a base coat of black primer. I then apply multiple coats of red to the tops of the shoe and dry brush some gold onto the skulls. I'm currently working on several different shapes and will hopefully have around 4 different styles to offer. I'm so happy with how these shoes turned out. I also 3D printed her crown and painted it gold. I added flowers to the front and back to hide the pins. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm super happy with the final results, and I hope you will like this video and subscribe.